Welcome back to the Seattle Birds Show with me, your science teacher, Zoe. Make sure you have your Seattle Bird Tracker book ready so that we can look through the pages together to find the birds that we're going to learn about today. And let's get started. We're going to even start with one of my favorite birds in the world because it's amazing. One of my favorite birds is that one. Do you recognize that bird? I bet you've seen quite a few of these in Seattle. That's the crow, but not just any crow. That's the American crow. There are so many different types of crows all over the world that they needed to call this one, the one that lives in North and South America, the American crow. What do you notice about the American crow's appearance? How could you tell the American crow apart from the other birds we've learned about? This one's tricky. If you said it's all black, you're right. It's one of the very few birds that is all black. Sometimes people get it mixed up with its cousin, the raven, who sometimes lives around Seattle too. But mostly, if you see a big black bird in Seattle that's all black, not a single other color, it's going to be the American crow. It has black wings, a black crown, a black breast, black tail, black back, black legs, black beak, black eyes, black everything. I think it's so beautiful. What do you notice about the beak shape? What do you think the crow eats? It looks pretty strong. It has a little bit of a hook at the end, and it's kind of long, but not too long. It almost looks like it could eat almost anything. And that's true. The crow is a scavenger. It tries to find any types of food it can. It has that little hook because sometimes it eats other little animals and even some clams and shellfish at the beach sometimes that it has to rip apart with that little hook. And then other times it might find fruit or insects or leftover food scraps from people littering or from garbage cans. So the crow finds whatever food it can, and its beak is able to eat any of those types of foods. So it's a pretty cool adaptation to have a beak that can do almost any type of eating. The American crow makes a couple main noises, and I bet you've heard one of them a lot in Seattle because it's almost the soundtrack of walking around the streets of Seattle because we have so many American crows here. So let's listen to what its main call is. Can you do that too? Can you make that caw sound? Do it in the back of my throat right here. Kind of rub that together as I'm making that noise. Ah! You give it a try. Do you need to come in here? In addition to the caw call that you're probably familiar with, the crow also makes kind of a rattling, clacking call. Take a listen to this one and think about if you've ever heard this when you've been out on a walk. Have you ever heard that call before? That one's a little trickier to make. I don't think I can do that with my mouth or my throat, but maybe you can. Let's see, I'll give it a try if you give it a try with me. That's, I guess, my first practice. I'll keep working on that one. Oh, maybe yours sounded better than mine, but it's always okay to make mistakes and try, right? That's the only way we can ever learn. One of the things that's so cool about crows is that they really like to hang out with each other. They stay with the same mate their whole lives. So like the two birds that get together to become parents, they stay together their whole lives. And they can live up to be about 30 years old. So they stay with their same partner their whole lives, and they stay in touch and with groups of their other family members. And then not only do they hang out with their family, their partner, the daddies, the mommies, the babies, but they also gather together almost every night, especially in the wintertime, with every other crow that lives in the same city as them. They all fly to the same place to spend the night, like they're all one really big family. You may have seen a lot of crows flying overhead as the sun starts to set in the nighttime. And you know what they're doing? They're all flying together to group up at what's called a roost. That's a place where birds, and in this case, crows, spend the night. And there are so many crows in Seattle that they are sometimes thousands and thousands of crows big at these roosts. So take a watch at this video of what it looks like to be underneath one of those roosts and watching up above you as those crows come flying in. Can you hear them? They're talking to each other for sure. That's another thing that scientists have discovered, is that crows are one of the smartest birds. They have their own language that talks to each other, not just, hey, there's some cool stuff to eat over at that place, but they talk to each other about lots of little details about who they saw, what things were scary, what things were fun in their lives. They've even been shown to recognize specific people like you or me, specific people's faces, and then tell with their cawing to other crows about that person. Like, caw, caw, that person was really mean to me. They chased me off of their front yard, or caw, caw, that person's really cool. They gave me a peanut to eat. So scientists have shown that the language of the crows is really advanced, and their brains are so smart they can recognize different people's faces and remember them and talk about them to other crows about what they do. Isn't that cool? Let's watch this video of the crows getting ready for their roost a little bit longer and listen to them talking to each other. It's kind of like a big crow meeting. So at this roost, this one is in Bothell, which is a city right north of Seattle, where most of the crows in Seattle fly every single night. They have trees and they have buildings, and the crows just find perches all around in that area to spend the night. Sometimes, though, you might see a big tree in your neighborhood that has a lot of crows. Maybe not thousands of crows, but a whole lot of them. Maybe it kind of looks like this tree in this video. And that's what's called a staging area. Sometimes, especially late in the afternoon, before the crows are ready to fly all the way to their roost for their sleeping spot, Sometimes they find a tree or another place in a neighborhood to gather all of their family members and all of the neighborhood crows together so that they can then fly to the roost as one flock. Kind of like a carpool. If you ever, give your friends rides in your car and you're in one group in your car, it's kind of like that, where the crows gather together. It's called a staging area where they get ready for traveling and then they go off. Or you could kind of think of it as like an airport where all the crows are eventually trying to go to the same place, but they have to gather at different airports to then fly together to the roost area. So that's what we call staging areas. So keep an eye out for crow staging areas in your neighborhood. And then also in the evening, maybe right before you go to bed or right around dinner time, look outside or walk outside and see, if you look up, do you see lots and lots and lots of crows flying across the sky? They're heading to their roost, where they are going to get together with thousands of other crows, have a meeting, talk, caw, about everything they experienced that day, and then go to sleep before they fly across the city the next morning to go back to their neighborhoods. Can you find the American crow in your Seattle bird tracker? I don't think this one's going to trick you as much as some of the other ones, because remember, you're looking for a bird that's all black. You look in your book while I look in mine. I think I found it. There it is. If you found the picture that looks like that and says American crow at the top, you've got it. Here is our next bird. Do you recognize this one? This one is the robin. This one can also be called the American robin because there are other robins in the world, but to keep it easy, we'll just call it robin for now. What do you notice about the robin's appearance? Its colors, its shapes of its body? Call a few things out. Do you notice its bright reddish orange breast and belly? That's one of the defining characteristics of a robin. Their nickname is Robin Redbreast. I bet you know why now, because they have that red colored breast. Sometimes it's a little bit orangey, but their nickname is still Robin Redbreast. What else do you notice about the colors and shapes of its body? You noticed the yellow beak too? Very cool. Oh, and the little white patches around its eyes? Yeah, those are sometimes hard to see in real life, but that's a good detail to see with your scientist eyes in this picture. And then you also noticed that the rest of their body is gray? Yeah, sometimes it's light gray or dark gray. Sometimes if you see a robin really quick outside, it might even look black on the rest of its body. But either way, the rest of its body, the top of its head, its crown, its back, its wings, its tail, is mostly gray. Occasionally a little white underneath. But the main parts you'll see are going to be gray, an orangey red, and a yellow beak. And that yellow beak is a pretty cool shape. It also can eat a few different types of foods. Not as many as that American crow's beak can eat, but it can eat different kinds of insects. It's long and pointy enough that it can poke into the grass and try to find worms to pull out. That's where I usually see robins, is in the grass, poking around for worms, especially after a rain has softened the ground and the worms are all squiggling around. The robin will be hopping with its little beak trying to grab and poke out little worms from the grass. The American robin also eats berries and seeds and nuts too, so its beak is strong enough to break those open as well. The American robin's song is known to be one of the most beautiful of any birds in our country. People love to listen to the robin song, and I bet you'll understand why as soon as you hear this video clip. It's almost like listening to music. Take a good listen to this video and see if you can sing a song like a robin can. Isn't that so beautiful? Chirp, 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 chirp. I can't do it exactly like the robin can either, but I can try. So can you. Let's hear it one more time and then you can give it a try. Your turn. Can you do that too? Chirp, 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 chirp. That's awesome. That sounded great. Another call that robins sometimes make is their alarm call when they're trying to warn other birds that there might be some danger nearby. So you might also hear this call from a robin sometimes. Can you make noises like that? I'll try too. Let's try together. It's kind of like a robin call. We'll keep practicing, but that's what a robin sometimes sounds like too. Okay, can you find the robin in your bird tracker book? Let's look together. Remember, you're looking for the bird with the reddish-orange breast, the yellow beak, and the gray rest of its body. Is this one it? This has some orange down by its breast. Oh wait, no, because it doesn't have a yellow beak. And it has a lot of white on its breast too, and white spots and stripes on its wing. That's a different bird. That one tried to trick us. Let's keep looking for the robin. I found it. Did you? If you found a picture that looks like this, you've got it. The last bird of today's episode is this beautiful bird. This is called a Steller's jay. Some people might get it confused with a blue jay because it does have a lot of blue on it, and it even has that mohawk that blue jays are known for. But even though the Steller's jay is a type of jay, so it's related to the blue jay, they're in the same family, a Steller's jay is different. And we do not have blue jays in Seattle. So if you see a bird with that mohawk and all those blue feathers, it's a Steller's jay in Seattle, not a blue jay. So make sure you get that right. But as we were just talking about, some of the attributes on its body that you can use to tell it apart from other birds is the blue color all over. It has a bright blue wing and tail and belly, and it's so beautiful. But then there's part of its body that's not blue. And this is also one of the things that you can use to tell it apart from a blue jay to tell people what the difference is. What part of the Steller's jay body is not blue? Exactly, its head and its neck. So a Steller's jay has a black head and neck and that black mohawk coming off the top. not blue. Blue jays are pretty much blue all over. So a Steller's jay, instead of having a blue head, has a black head, kind of like it's wearing a black mohawked hood over its blue costume. And Steller's jays also have a pretty strong pointy beak that helps them eat a lot of different foods. They also can eat a whole variety of stuff. Their favorite foods are seeds, nuts, and berries because they have a pretty strong beak that can crack those open. But they also, especially in the summertime, love to eat insects and sometimes even little animals like frogs and lizards. So they can eat a lot of foods too. The Steller's jay has a pretty shocking sounding call. It's nicknamed the weck weck call or the shook shook call. Take a listen and see what you think. It almost sounds like it's yelling at us. Hey, 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 hey! Yuck, 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 yuck! Shook, 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 shook! Can you make that call? Let's listen one more time so that you can hear it to practice. Your turn. Give that a try. Yuck, 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 yuck! You sound great. You sounded just like a Steller's jay. Let's find that Steller's jay in our bird book now. Let's see, where could it be? A blue body with a black head and mohawk. A lot of these birds do not have mohawks. Are you looking in your book too? I found it. Did you find it? Here it is. That blue body with the black hood and the black mohawk. So keep your eyes out for those 3 birds in your neighborhood this week. And soon, not yet, soon I'll have you start counting them in your bird tracker book. But for now, put your bird tracker back somewhere safe in your house so that you can use it when you watch the next episode of the Seattle Birds Show with me. But keep it safe until then, and just keep your eyes and ears peeled for the birds we've learned about so far. Do you remember what those birds are? Do you remember the northern flicker with the drumming that it sometimes does? Do you remember the rock pigeon that we rocked out with, but also makes those cooing noises, those little gurgling, cooing noises with its kind of rainbow neck feathers and grays on the rest of its body? Do you remember the black-capped chickadee with its black cap and white pizza slice on the side of its head that says chickadee-dee-dee-dee, almost says its name? And we also learned about a few other little small birds like the junco, the one that doesn't have any white on its head, just that big black hood, and the Steller's jay today. And then what others have we learned about so far? We also learned about the nuthatch, the one that puts its little nuts and seeds into a hole in the branch and then pecks at them to hatch them open like a nuthatch, that had the skinnier stripe of white and the little skinny beak and the short tail. It's a little different than the chickadee. And then we also today learned about the robin and the American crow. So you have quite a few birds to keep your eyes and ears open so far with. In the next episode of our show, we'll learn even more birds from your book and get ready to count them all up when we do our project. I can't wait. Before we go for the day, here are a few clips from birds that I found when I went for a walk in my neighborhood this weekend. Maybe you'll see some of them too. See if you can identify what types are in the next few clips. Hello, crows.
Are you American crows? Yes, I think you are. Check you out. Wow. Showing off for the camera? Doing a little catwalk, or should we call it a bird walk? Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Look at this bird that's at my neighbor's bird feeder. Oh, there's another one up in the tree. Look at that mohawk. Can you tell what that was?